Good morning, students. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
So good morning. We are dealing with print media. In the last lecture, we have seen the development of press, that is newspapers, till the independence. Now, we will see development of press in post-independence India. Press Enquiry Committee was formed in the year 1947. Recommendation to repeal Indian Emergency Powers Act of 1931, modification in section 124A and 153A of the Indian Penal Code, and amendments to the Press and Registration of Books Act. Now, you have to remember what I taught you in the last lecture. In the last lecture, I talked about the censorship of press by British government. Press, that is newspapers, had played a very important role in the development of national spirit in India. Newspapers were talking about the oppression of British government, and they were spreading the unrest in the general public. So as a result, British government put a lot of restrictions on Indian press and especially the newspapers in regional mediums. So this particular act, after independence, Press Inquiry Committee was formed and it repealed, took back the Emergency Powers Act of 1931. There were sections 124A and 153A, which in Indian Penal Code, which recommended or which, according to which severe punishments were given to the reporters. So that was also modified and amendments were done to Press and Registration of Books Act. It was made more lenient and it was made more friendly to the press, because now we were a democratic country, and in a democratic country, press is supposed to be the fourth pillar of democracy. It is known as the fourth estate. Then Article 19(1)(a) of the Indian Constitution provides for right to freedom of speech and expression. And by extension, it is related to the freedom of press. Then Press Objectionable Matters Act 1951 replaced Press Emergency Powers Act 1931 and was considered harmless since it was against such publications and printing which would incite violence and other objectionable matter. So, 1931 Act was made by the Britishers and it was aimed at suppressing the growth of press in India. In 1951, Press Objectionable Matters Act was passed by the Indian government and it was more press friendly. Please note down the main points. Press Enquiry Committee 1947, Press Objectionable Matters Act 1951, and Article 19(1)(a) of Indian Constitution, that is right to freedom of speech and expression. Then Press Commission was formed under Justice Rajadhyaksha. It recommended the establishment of an All India Press Council as an autonomous, statutory, quasi-judicial body to regulate Indian press. So earlier, any matter related to the press was directly referred to the court and court gave severe punishments. But now, after independence, a quasi judicial body was formed, that was All India Press Council. Under the recommendation of Press Commission headed by Justice Rajadhyaksha. Then, Press Council Act was passed in the year 1965 to maintain and improve the standards of the newspaper and simultaneously to maintain the freedom of press. Please note down this act, Press Council Act 1965. Later on, Press Council Act 1978 was also passed. It was to preserve the freedom of press and re-establishment of Press Council with more representative composition and improved provisions. Now, you have to understand why this Press Council Act, new Press Council Act was passed in the year 1978. Now, all of you have a general idea of Indian history. Many of you are the students of history. Many of you are the students of political science. So, you know the historical developments, or you should know the historical developments in post-independence India. There was a lot of turbulence in 1970s. In the year 1975, Indira Gandhi, as Prime Minister, imposed emergency. And during emergency, there were a lot of restrictions put on the newspapers or press in general. As a result, it was a type, even though it was called an emergency, it was actually a dictatorship. After the emergency was lifted, there was elections, and in the elections, Congress was defeated by a united coalition of all other oppositions party that was known as Janata Dal. So, in the year 1977, Janata government came to the power, and it wanted such an act which will restrict the powers of the government, and whatever had happened in 1975 should not be repeated again. And as a result, the new Press Council Act was passed in 1978 by the Janata government. Then there was Press Information Bureaus. Press Trust of India, United News of India, Samachar Bharati, and Hindustan Samachar. So these four bodies united to form Press Information Bureaus. There are four Press Information Bureaus: Press Trust of India, United News of India, Samachar Bharati, and Hindustan Samachar. These are the bodies which provide authentic news to the newspapers. Next, we will talk about freedom of press in post-independence India. The first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, was a liberal democrat and tolerant to criticism. He said, quote, "To my mind, the freedom of the press is not just a slogan from the larger point of view, but it is an essential attribute of the democratic process. I have no doubt that even if the government dislikes the liberties taken by the press and considers them dangerous, it is wrong to interfere with the freedom of the press. I would rather have a completely free press with all the dangers involved in the wrong use of that freedom than a suppressed or a regulated press. Unquote. So you can find that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he was in the favor of complete freedom of press. However, his daughter Indira Gandhi was authoritarian and intolerant to criticism. She displayed hostility towards press, antipathy, and there was a lot of confrontation. She tried to control the media. So now we talk about emergency in the year 1975. There was a lot of encroachment upon the freedom of press. There was central censorship order and guidelines for the press in the present emergency. It was an example of stringent, that is very strict, pre-censorship. So before printing anything, you had to take the permission of the government, and as a result, you could not print anything against the government. So please note down emergency in the year 1975, central censorship order, and guidelines for the press in the present emergency. Now we talk about role of press in post-independence India. Now we are starting with a new topic. Please note it down. It can be asked as a 20 marks question. Role of press in post-independence India. First one, dissemination of information. That is, providing information to all the people. It includes credible informational function. That is, providing 100% authentic information. Then the second one is critical, investigative, adversarial function. So in the first example, in the first function, what press is supposed to do, what media is supposed to do is to collect the information and to check that it is authentic information. That is credible informational function. Whatever the information is given is 100% true. In the second function, the media has to be critical. For example, some policies of the government must be criticized by the media. You have to see, you have to judge whether the policies are really effective and they are in the favor of the people or not. If the policies are not in the favor of the people, the media must oppose it. So it is known as critical, investigative, and adversarial function. Then the next one is objective reporting of the news. The media should not be biased. They should not favor any one party. That is objective reporting of the news. Then the next one is check on government plans and policies. Then, raising the voice against evils in the society, such as superstitions, atrocities, dictatorship, corruption, and malpractices. Now, remember, here I'm giving you only the main points. You have to elaborate these main points with your own examples. And you have to give the examples from the current affairs. Then the next one is spreading awareness regarding problems faced by the people. Please note down all the points. These are only headings. You have to, while you write the answer to this particular question, you have to give your own examples for each point. So I repeat, point number 1, dissemination of information. A, credible informational function. B, critical investigative adversarial function. Number 2, objective reporting of the news. Number 3, check on government plans and policies. Number 4, raising the voice against evils in the society, such as superstitions, atrocities, dictatorship, corruption, and malpractices. Fifth point, spreading awareness regarding problems faced by the people. Next point, preserving diversity and pluralism by reflecting the vast regional, linguistic, socio-economic, and cultural heterogeneity of India. I repeat, role of press in post-independence India is a very important point, important question. It can be asked as a 20 marks question. One question is role of press in pre-independence India, and the other question is role of press in post-independence India. Point number 7, entertainment. It includes hobbies and recreation, crossword and Sudoku, humor and satire. The next one is sharp ideological and political divide. In Indian media, you can find there are two groups. One is secular democratic and the other one is Hindu right. And there is a lot of tussle between the two. The next one is vital role of press in strengthening the sovereignty and integrity of the nation. So please note down all the points. I repeat again. preserving diversity and pluralism by reflecting the vast regional, linguistic, socio-economic, and cultural heterogeneity of India. Number 7, entertainment, hobbies and recreation, crossword and Sudoku, humor and satire. Number 8, sharp ideological and political divide between secular democratic and Hindu right. And the last one, vital role of press in strengthening the sovereignty and integrity of the nation. So there are total 9 points, and you have to elaborate each point with your own examples. Now we come to the next point, next topic, that is leading newspapers in India. First, we will see the English newspapers. Times of India, which is started in the year 1838. So it is very old, and it is always pro-government newspaper. It always supports the government. So if there is Congress government, first, when there was British government, Times of India supported British government. When India became independent, when there was Congress government, Times of India supported Congress. Now there is BJP government, Times of India is supporting BJP. Second one is Hindu, founded in the year 1878. Then there is Amrit Bazar Patrika, founded in the year 1868. Bombay Chronicle is founded in the year 1913. Free Press Journal is founded in the year 1930, which later on became the Indian Express. Hindustan Times was founded in the year 1924. Now we will see the regional newspapers. First one is Aaj, founded in the year 1920. Then Anand Bazar Patrika, founded in the year 1922. Sakar in the year 1931. Swadesh Mitran, 1882. Mumbai Samachar, 1822. We have seen it is the oldest newspaper. Malayala Manorama, 1890, and Mathrubhumi, 1930. Please note down these papers, and they are in the descending order of circulation. It means Times of India is the first, as far as circulation is concerned. Times of India is first, Hindu is second, Amrit Bazar Patrika is third, Bombay Chronicle fourth, Indian Express fifth, and Hindustan Times sixth in India. Largest circulation. Similarly, when we see regional newspapers, the most widely read newspaper is Aaj, then Anand Bazar Patrika, then Sakar, then Swadesh Mitran, then Mumbai Samachar, then Malayala Manorama, and then Mathrubhumi. Please note down, it can be asked as objective questions. Now, we will see issues and problems of press. The first one is freedom of press. Even though we talk a lot about freedom of press, there is no adequate freedom of collecting and disseminating facts and offering comments due to practical external pressures. There are filters such as capitalist ownership of newspaper industry, predominance of certain newspaper groups, and revenue from advertisements. So, when we talk about capitalist ownership of newspapers, the purpose of newspapers is to earn profit. And whatever news provides a larger circulation, that particular news is highlighted. So, sensationalism becomes the what you can say important point in raising the sell of newspapers. Then again the same problem, revenue from the advertisements. Government is the single largest advertiser for newspapers, and if a newspaper is too critical of the government stops advertisements to that particular paper. As a result, the the newspapers faces the financial problem and goes into the loss. So these are the practical problems of newspapers. Then the next one is censorship. Here we are talking about direct and indirect pressure of the government. Apart from government, there are certain laws like contempt of court, defamation and sedition. Sedition, Rashtradrah. Defamation, Badnami. These are the laws which put have you written down sedition, Rashtradrah? These issues control the freedom of the press. Then the next one is fake news. Here we are talking about booming social media make news viral without verification of facts. Now, when we talk about newspapers, before printing anything, they have to verify the news. But when we talk about social media, WhatsApp, Twitter, there is no control over what is circulated as news. So as a result, there is hype in fake news. Then there is another point, that is paid news. Here we are talking about cash payment for sustained positive coverage in news. It puts the question mark on journalistic objectivity. P. Sainath is a senior journalist of Hindu, and he said that paid news is a very serious problem in Indian journalism. Then there is something known as yellow journalism, Peet Patrakarita. It is a name given to sensationalism, biased news, spreading rumors, character assassination, mudslinging, and blackmailing. Right now, whatever you are seeing in the media, the way Kangna is talking about Maharashtra government, whatever the statements she is making, or whatever happened in Sushant Singh Rajput suicide case, it is the best example of yellow journalism. So make a note over there. Yellow journalism, put Sushant Singh case. So whatever happened in this particular case, it is an example of yellow journalism. Okay. So these are very important questions. Now see, I hope you are able to see the PowerPoint presentation. There is no problem. So one question, please write down the questions. These are all essay type questions. That is for 20 marks. Your first question is development of printing through the ages. I repeat, development of printing through the ages. So slide number 4, 5, 4 and 5. Here you will get development of printing through the ages. Obviously, these are the main points. You have to do the reference work. You can do it online, and then you have to substantiate your answer with suitable examples. Here I have given only main points. So your first question will be development of printing through the ages. Then as a short note, you can have difference between newspapers and magazines. Short note, it will be for 5 marks. Difference between newspapers and magazines. Then again, history of newspapers, it will be for 20 marks. History of newspapers, essay type question for 20 marks. So slide number 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So history of newspapers from slide number 8 to slide number 13. History of newspapers for 20 marks. The next question is role of newspapers in pre-independence India. Role of newspapers in pre-independence India. The same question can be asked as role of newspapers in Indian freedom struggle or role of newspapers in the rise of Indian nationalism. I repeat, it is the same question, but it can be asked in 3 different ways. Role of newspapers in pre-independence India, role of newspapers in Indian freedom struggle, or role of newspapers in the rise of Indian nationalism. Slide number 14, 15, and 16. The next one is development of press in post-independence India for 20 marks. Next question, development of press in post-independence India. Slide number 17 and 18. Then the next question is freedom of press in India. So here you will talk about British censorship, slide number 16, and then the post-independence scenario, slide number 19 and 20. Then the next question is role of press in post-independence India, slide number 21 and 22. Role of press in post-independence India. It is again a question for 20 marks. Then the next one is issues and problems of press, again for 20 marks. Issues and problems of press, again for 20 marks. So how many questions you have written?
8, ma'am.
8. Okay. Today, I think it is enough for today. I'm not going into the next slide because it will confuse you all the more. Now, this particular topic, print media, is very important, and you have all the important questions over here. So now what do you have to do? You have to do reference work. You have internet with you. Put these keywords, for example, issues and problems of press, role of press in India, and you will get a lot of articles on that. Refer to the articles and write down your answers. There are very good articles on these topics. You will get a lot of case studies over there. For example, as I told you, yellow journalism, its case study is Sushant Singh Rajput suicide case. You can have it as a case study. I will give you another case study, that is the fake news. There was there was an earthquake in Brazil, and on WhatsApp and Twitter, there was a news of a little girl, that is, her name was Sophia, a small girl. And you know there was, due to earthquake, one particular school building was damaged, and many children, they were trapped inside the debris. And it was said that this particular girl, Frida Sophia, is also trapped under that debris. So there was a lot of emotional messages about her, and then people prayed for her, and it became the international sensation. All over the world, people are praying for this little girl who is trapped under the debris of her school building. Her name was Frida Sophia, and everybody was praying for her. And then, when that debris was removed, when the entire site was, you know, um, she was, the people were, the rescue operators, they were searching for this girl, and no such girl was found. There were many children who were found dead, but this girl was not found. And then what they did, they went through the school records, and they found that there was no girl studying in that particular school by the name of Frida Sophia. So the entire personality, entire news of this Frida Sophia was a fake news. There were other children, the real children, who were buried under that debris and who died. But these people, they were searching for this particular girl, Frida Sophia, who never existed. So it is an example of fake news. So like that, you will get the examples, case studies for each and every topic. For paid news, as I told you, P. Sainath, he is a senior journalist of Hindu. So type P. Sainath on paid news. You will get the articles. Okay. So this is going to be your homework for the next week. Whatever the points I have given you, make references and write down your own examples. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Any doubts? Okay, so today we stop over here. We'll meet in the next lecture.